More than 2,000 metres above sea level, the highlands around Mount Hagen are a cool, picturesque contrast to the sweltering capital, Port Moresby. But the clouds hide more than the postcard views. Fear and revenge have become part of everyday life. Right now, they should be harvesting the coffee. The region's #1 crop should be delivering cash to thousands of families. The country's largest plantation at Gumanch lies idle. The cause is clan rivalry. What's happening here at Gumanch illustrates the impact of PNG's law and order problem. The school is closed, the church is virtually empty, and this year's coffee harvest is going to waste, all while rival tribal groups argue over who owns the plantation. Father Joseph Rapelovich's parish is caught in the middle.
Many people cannot come because they are afraid to come again, because there's a conflict to get the plantation. The school has been already shut for 5 weeks, and who knows how it's going to be.
Scores of families have been driven from their land. 7 people have been killed. 30 years ago, a fight like this wouldn't have been so lethal. What's changed is the arrival of high-powered guns. Some of the weapons are former police and military issue. The Mount Hagen Mobile Squad is used to dealing with tribal fights and knows how difficult intervening can be. So, Simon, are these all confiscated weapons? These are some of the guns police have confiscated at the Gumanch plantation.
Well, this SLR goes for about 15 to 20,000 kina. M16 goes for about 10,000 kina.
That's around $9,000. Police admit they don't know how many more of the weapons there might be, or whether they might be on the move.
Now he's in the trouble fights in Highlands. We used to come across a lot of those firearms in the end, the warriors.
What they usually do, they usually hire people with firearms from another tribe to come and help them fight. So it's sort of, they call them hiremen. Yeah. They help them fight. After that, they pay them with money and pig.
So sensitive is the situation at Gumanch that police forced us to leave the fighting zone. Peace negotiator Paul Omba travels the district, trying to reconcile the warring parties. Paul Omba worries that police don't have the resources to deal with the problem.
The police, they don't have a gun. I mean, a strong gun. So, police are human beings too. The people have high-powered guns, so they're afraid to go and arrest them or get the people because they have guns, strong guns.
The Highlands present an enormous challenge for policing in PNG, tying up scarce resources and manpower in a rugged environment. Life in the Highlands is far from ideal for many, and that's driving them to move to the nation's capital.
What's going on? Why you come at night? Listen, brother, I don't operate in the night, only devil does. Put that bloody thing on. Who are you? You are a foreigner.
No, get television.
Get it off. You are accusing me of doing illegal things without being charged?
A raid tonight for police in Port Moresby.
We have nothing to wait.
In Jesus' name.
We are not waiting for OSA to help us.
They've moved in on the premises of a fast money scheme that's been ripping off investors.
This warrant allows me to seize any of these documents, if you want to hear them. All right?
For the police, it's a rare victory.
We have, nothing works. Yes, people...
Even their minister says they're losing the war against crime.
If there is any file missing, you guys will have to court.
The picture is quite alarming. It's quite frightening. You got shops that are
being robbed frequently. People being held up, homes being broken into, and it's not a good place to live in.
This time the guns aren't required, yet more and more police are finding themselves up against well-armed criminals. Here in Papua New Guinea, police come up against weapons like these almost every single day. Soon they'll be working alongside Australian police, more than 200 coming to join the fight against crime. It's an ambitious plan. It will cost Australian taxpayers around $1 billion over the next 5 years, on top of the money it already gives its former colony. Port Moresby is a coastal city of more than 300,000 people, isolated from the rest of the country. Those lured here looking for opportunity usually find false promise. Most end up living in sprawling urban settlements, where poverty breeds crime. Well known as a haven for car thieves and robbers, Horse Camp community is trying to mend its ways. Local leaders have renamed their settlement Joyce Bay in an image makeover, but crime still stalks the vulnerable.
A woman by themselves, they want to go out, they feel a little bit of scared about themselves because people are looking for opportunities, so anything is happening anywhere, anytime.
And while Horse Camp looks after its own, those not within the fold are fair game.
We got a taxi to come back to them.
Along this road not far away, Naomi Dadi and her 14-year-old son were attacked, taking their shopping home to their village.
And I resisted. I didn't want the bag to be released, but I was hit on the head at the back by a gun, the butt of it. So I let go the bags.
When police recently reported a drop in serious crime, the announcement was met with disbelief. People say it shows that victims have given up reporting crimes. Vire Kemisopa is Papua New Guinea's unconventional Minister for Police. He came into office a year ago, inheriting a force compromised and on the brink of collapse.
Armed robbery, yeah. So how many cases would you be, reported cases of armed robbery in the city would you be dealing with?
In a month would be about 13, 14 to 13, 14. This armed robbery alone, major armed robberies.
Major armed robbery.
How many cars are allocated to this section?
One.
One car for how long now?
About 3 years now.
For 3 years now. One car.
He set himself the task of turning things around and listening to police about the cause of the troubles.
There are a few files that were missing.
You think so you can bring the criminals to court? It's a real mess.
Well, basically, it's use or pay now these days in PNG. You find up to the police station and you tell the officer at the front desk, I've just been robbed, my house been broken into. Then okay, why don't you pay for the fuel and we'll go over there.
The minister blames political interference for his failing force. He says poor pay and conditions have destroyed morale.
This is where I sleep. My wife, my children, just here on the floor. And then this is where I cook.
You see a constable who's married, got 3 kids, sharing one room, no toilet, no shower. The kids are all sleeping on the floor. The father works a shift, late night shifts, can't get a sleep because he's living in an overcrowded single quarters in a police barracks. The bulk of the PNG police force are hardworking men and women who want better working environment, who are aspiring for greater opportunities within the RPHC. They cannot sit back and allow the mess that the PNG police force is going through.
It's clear that frustration is leading some police to take matters into their own hands. One of PNG's most daring criminal acts was the so-called Millennium Robbery. Armed criminals hijacked a helicopter and landed it on the roof of the city's largest bank. The robbers were ultimately unsuccessful, their helicopter shot down by police as it tried to make its getaway. The criminals seemed lucky that day. All 5 survived the crash. But none would ever see the inside of a prison.
I know he's a criminal, but if the police, if the law is there in police hands, he could have taken him alive and ask him and send him to jail.
Angela Davis's son Jonathan was one of the robbers. Witnesses said he was alive when he was put in an ambulance to be taken to hospital, but he was dead by the time Angela arrived.
The policemen were there already, so I want to check him and they said, you cannot. And they point a gun at me.
You were lucky, mate. Here's the man you're looking for. Here's the man. You come.
Angela pressed for a coroner's inquest, which found police responsible for the deaths of all 5. Still, no action has been taken against the officers involved.
If something happened, then was that got out of control? The police have a bad habit of beating, punching, hitting, and shoot before they ask questions why.
The PNG police force is like a boys' club because of the lack of scrutiny on the performance of the police force. It hasn't been enforced. You know, you have rogue policemen out there belting up offenders, not reading them their rights. And even before they're brought to the station, they're severely wounded. And that's a major concern for us.
If you want to know more about crime in Port Moresby, you talk to Jobu Hora, a notorious figure. He was jailed for his part in the country's first ever armed hold-up involving a gun in 1978.
So college days in there? You spent some time in there? Yeah, 7 times.
Jobu believes police have lost the faith of the public.
You know, more and more if a robbery happens, the police don't bother arresting people.
Yeah, because they deal with them.
Because there's been some involvement in
They're now seen as part of the problem, either for taking part in crimes or their reliance on violence.
When I'm going to be Australian law, they respect crime, they respect Kutis the Russian bed, I like their last name. Tari Kimani Matamta de Varene. They Bogan will give the alarm, they have to Matanum Raras, then a copy near Bimba, with their money, they have a mental bone. Rascals are dating the PD de cover. Unnecessary Maracana get the PD.
We've got on record something like 3 to 4 million compensation claim, simply with police negligence, brutality, and so forth. It's coming through the courts almost every month. And police think that you can build someone and get away with it.
It's a brave police minister who concedes his force needs outside help. That's what Bire Kimisopa's done in defiance of accusations of neo-colonialism. He's been a key part of negotiations for a new $1 billion Australian aid package to boost law and order, a dramatic recasting of its role in its former colony. It's known as the Enhanced Cooperation Program, and it means a new hands-on role for Australians in the day-to-day running of police, the courts, the national finances and border security.
The Enhanced Cooperation Program is to be a turbocharged boost for the government's reform efforts. And once that boost is finished, then the momentum should be there for the process just to continue indefinitely into the future.
We should have a much better performing police force. We will have a more reduced level of crime generally throughout the country.
The package is in addition to the $300 million a year Australia already spends in aid to PNG. The bulk of the new money is going to police, and for Australia there's a fair bit of self-interest involved. with concern Papua New Guinea could be used as a staging ground for people smuggling, drug trafficking or terrorism.
I think that most people in this country probably don't realize these risks until something major happens. We may be peaceful and stable and all those things, but anything can happen.
PNG's ability to control its borders has already been compromised. In a burglary last November at the Foreign Affairs Department, the country's entire passport-making infrastructure was stolen. Computer database, backups and blank passports. None of it has ever been recovered.
That was a major breach. Fortunately, we did not lose everything. Obviously, it looked very much like an inside job.
What the theft means for PNG and its neighbours is alarming.
It could relate to possible involvement of people in drug trafficking or in gun running or in people smuggling or in acts of terrorism or organizing PNG as a stepping stone for people to come in and with a view to going somewhere else like Australia and New Zealand, which has in fact been the case.
Australia is hoping its aid package and its presence can plug the security holes. Yet for PNG, dealing with law and order means dealing with grassroots problems.
Hey, what's your name?
Law and order is the hinge upon which the door hangs. And you can talk about the roads and bridges. You can talk about social indicators you want to pursue. You can talk about the economic goals you want to pursue, the interest rates, the exchange rate, and so forth. But without the hinge, the door will collapse.
On both fronts, the challenge is immense. The breakdown in law and order both damages the community and opens the door to outside threats. The hope is that the arrival of outsiders can help turn things around.
Well, my biggest fear is that after 5 years, if this thing doesn't work properly, then we'll come back to the same position we're in, or worse still, completely gone.
The reality of policing in one of the world's most diverse nations is likely to challenge those with even the best of intentions. But the prospect of PNG descending into chaos is too horrifying to contemplate.